y'all be chilling, right? Or you be out somewhere, and you hear what you think is gunshots, but then it just turns out it's an engine backfiring.
Yeah, we did. We had
Yeah,
that.
I had that. I had like, boom, like, oh, they shooting. Oh, that was the.
Now,
Somebody truck that rolled by.
I had that happen.
And
I
it ain't
had
like
that happen.
it ain't like it's 4 or 5 pops, just one big bang. And
Now,
then I'm gonna tell you how funny that is, because all you hear is just then everybody starts slowing down. Why everybody running?
Nah, it was because I told you I grew up in 2 cities, Linwood and Watts, but back in the days in Linwood, there used to be this donut van used to come around the neighborhood all the time. Randy's donut van.
Big Worm?
Basically it was a big one, but it's a Spanish.
But it wasn't. But his wasn't a donut. His was more like a candy truck.
Candy. No, he sold donuts on.
Yeah.
But you know who he was because every time he started to hit, you hear that pop
Yep.
in the back of his van. I'm like, oh man, they started shotgun. But
Now-
oh no, that's him.
That's just him starting up his truck. 'Cause his truck was so bad.
Real quick for the younger ones in the audience who don't know what an engine backfiring is. Cars don't do this anymore, but I want to say models from probably 95 and below. Could be wrong about that, but they used to make these loud popping noises occasionally, and it sounds exactly like a gunshot, especially from a distance.
Yeah.
And when you live in the hood, you have to pause and think, am I getting shot at? Or is someone going to work?
Or
is it
then
both?
you gotta look down. Then we rattle off some models of cars that qualify for this. So if you rode the Pinto, that bad boy backfired. if you rode them old school Hyundais before they fixed them, those things backfired.
Oh, wait. Is this shit one?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones that you couldn't really clutch right, and
The
it was
one-
like boop, boop.
The boys in the hood, Honda? Yeah.
That one.
My cousin
Yeah,
had
that
one.
one backfired. So
I used to backfire all the time.
Now-
but that engine was so loud though.
Yeah. Now, if you had like the old school Cutlass Supreme and it wasn't worked on, that bad boy backfired. The old school Cutlass, the one that, the Cutlasses are normally good engines, but if you didn't put no work into it and you just let that engine go, because a lot of people didn't know how to fix engines.
Well, what about the old school automobile?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The old school, like the old school Cutlass. Yeah, the Cutlass
had
Supreme.
the Supremes.
The big old beastie looks like a boat.
No, we
because-
had the Plymouth.
Yeah, that one looked like a boat too.
Yeah.
Or if you had like an El Camino that wasn't worked on, that's another one. Yeah, that one.
He's sitting in
And
the
I'm
streets in the
gonna
backyard.
tell you how scary that is. Because if anybody who's familiar with an El Camino, it basically is like a car, but it looks like a truck in the back. So it's a car in the front and a truck in the back. So it's scary because when that bad boy backfires, you'll see it hop up a little bit, but it's scary because it's a actual truck bed in the back of it, so you don't know if somebody hopped out like sitting in the back of that truck bed. Yeah. Now see, for all the kids in the back who never have experiences because you don't see this anymore. There was a point in time when you could sit in the back of a truck bed, no seat belts, no nothing, and you could just ride with like 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the truck bed.
Yeah.
So you just be rolling.
Like, hang on.
No, don't just sit in the back.
Here's what they used to
stand
do.
up.
Used to be, my dad used to have I want to say Tacoma,
Yes.
or whatever, right? Tacoma truck, and it had the cover on it, right? Where
Yes.
it would look, make it like a cabin,
Yes.
right? Me being a little kid, I would sit back there sometimes, and my only safety was a beanbag.
Yes.
And I would sit back there while we were driving around. I didn't die, clearly, but that was fun.
Of course it was fun.
See, if you're going to take away anything from this podcast, just know, laws make life less fun.
True.
True.
And don't get it wrong. Now, I know that in the Midwest.
You can quote Paulie on that.
No, in the Midwest, you can get away with that stuff. It's just on the East Coast and West Coast, they stopped that a long time ago. Why? Because when they said people was riding in truckloads, they were riding in truckloads. They'll be going up to Hollywood in the back of the truck.
Well,
and it'd be like 6 dudes.
Well, if we gotta talk about trucks, we gotta talk about the old school vans when the people be popping out of the vans, I've been in them situations.
No, vans, but
like
vans
10
are
of us in that van, but we going over bumps.
Vans is a little bit different because it's still enclosed and stuff. The reason why I said trucks, because the top is open, y'all sitting on the side, people dangling out, and don't let it be some hood dudes. They got the Thule just waving on the hood. It's like this, looking like John Wayne up this mug. Everybody got hold it down.
What's that old school classical gangster movie where they had the Tommy guns, but they all riding on the top of the thing?
I forgot.
It wasn't. No, it was. I know one was with Kevin Costner, the Untouchables. That was good.
That was good too. They did ride like that.
But it was one of the old school classics. Damn, I can't.
Oh, I don't remember.
But it's one part.
Beverly Hillbillies.
Two of them.
They did the Beverly Hillbillies riding in the back of the truck.
But they were just sitting on side by side. One was even on the driver's side, just hanging on. But they got the Tommy gun.
Yep. And they just be riding, man. It was a point in time.
Here's a question. Do you think it all started going downhill when they enforced seatbelts?
Yes. Because what would happen is, one fool who be sitting on this. So you can sit in the truck. And there'll be the one fool who be like y'all, we want to stand on the truck. Be riding, hold the thing on the top, riding, hand up high. Now, for people, I'm gonna give y'all a movie visual. Y'all remember the movie Varsity Blues? Remember how old boy was in the country riding the truck?
Not the one with the football
With the football team.
Yeah,
you know how they used to always go in the back and it was like all of them. It was kind of like that.
He drank syrup?
Yeah, more or less. It was kind of like that, but in the West Coast, instead of it being like some country people, be some thugs, some real ones, just be in the truck. But a lot of times it'll be kids, just like you said. You're riding in the back, but you had the cabin over yours. Most kids didn't have the cabin. When I used to ride in the back of the truck, we didn't have no cabin. And our stupid butts, we wouldn't be sitting on the floor of the seat. We sitting on the edge.
That's what we did.
We leaning halfway out.
I would be like, hey, no big dip.
No, cause see, the thing is, normally you be driving slow in the truck, right? But you get the one fool who wanna just hit the gas all hard. Blue.
Travel back.
That's where it started.
Man.
You see the one kid.
I never forget.
The one kid flip out.
I'll never forget.
And I fall out the truck, and then they got to double back and go pick him up. You alright?
I'll never forget. I was in high school. I think it was my senior year. One of my homeboys, he had one of them old school 70 trucks, but the one was just a two-door to sit low.
Mm-hmm.
So it was me. Now, mind you, I was bigger back then. I'm not getting in the back. I'm gonna sit. I said, look, I'm gonna be in the front too, because I know if I get back there, somebody gonna fall. So 3 of the homies, or 4 of them, they all back there, but they standing up. And like you said, one was sitting on the edge. So he said, hey, I'm gonna go over there. Watch what's name tumble
out.
So hit my boy. But he did it perfectly though. He was able to break ball, but as he tumbled,
flew all the way out of the truck. Yep. Yeah, my problem.
And then he fell out. That was funny.
And this is where for all the people, for all the kids who ever want to know where the term shotgun came from, that's where shotgun came from. Because if you didn't want to ride in the back of the truck, you wanted to be where the AC was, talk to the driver, control the music,
or what a safety is. That's
basically
what it was.
If you want to ride safe, you called shotgun.
I got shotgun.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, it didn't matter I don't care if it was a guy or a girl. It's whoever called shotgun first got to see. Everybody else, guy, girl, got to hop in the back.
Shotgun.
Anyway.
Damn, that was a good one.
Anyway, y'all ready to do this? All right, y'all. PVC Podcast Crew, y'all know how we get down. Dang, man, it's been a cool minute. It's been a couple of weeks since doing this. We apologize. We've been trying to take care of a few things with our lives and stuff, but we back at it. Y'all know how we get down. But first and foremost, before we get started, shout out to all the affiliates. Of course, shout out to all 121 subscribers. Appreciate each and every one of you. Outside of that, we're going to get right into it. But before I do, This man always want to get his name out there, get his buzz up.
I thought you was finna start.
Nah. Cause I want to hear it every single time. You didn't do no intro. So we're gonna do an intro.
I thought we passed the intros now.
Nah, you
upgraded on me.
I didn't say skip the intro. Let's get to the info. I didn't say all that. we were just getting the mics warmed up.
Okay, excuse me.
Anyway, y'all know I like to do at this time. Paul, you know what time it is. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? We back at the table again. Sorry we took some time off. We, like Cam said, we had some stuff cooking and rocking and stuff like that. And we just finished doing the short film for about a couple weeks ago?
About a month ago.
A month ago. So hopefully soon it should be out either next week or the week before. So give my boys patience and stuff because they just did a film as well, which is just hit the big screen. So shout out to my boy Jason Lane and Marcos. You know, you guys did a wonderful job in this and that and the other. But besides that, you know, it's glad to be back at the table with my boys. So I'm going to pass it on to Vic. Vic, say what's up to the people.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Glad to be back here at the PVC Podcast Crew, coming at you with another episode. As always, we hope you enjoy our content. And as always, remember, you don't have to like the video
To like the video.
Wait, we need to get that on the shirt. You ain't got to like the video. To like the video. That's something that the WWE will rock.
Yeah, that's true.
But in all seriousness, today's episode, we're going to be talking about a variety of topics as usual. A little bit about music, a little bit about entertainment, and a little bit about the state of things in our beloved country, the United States of America.
Damn it.
Here we go.
Don't mind Stars and Stripes, he's all right.
You all right?
No, that's basically that's what happens when you say America. You go get that one person who's all American, like goddamn right.
We're gonna get there. Don't worry.
Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy.
Yes, we're gonna slide. We're gonna slide.
Internet. You think he'd be as popular if he was black?
No, that's different conversation.
No, wait,
different conversation for a different day.
Wait.
What if it was Terry the Cable Guy?
No.
Wait.
I mean, no.
Yes, he would.
No.
He probably got his ass whooped, but
Not yet. No.
What's
We don't.
Wait,
So
he was in the Tyler Perry movie.
Yes, but no.
That don't make him black.
I know they don't make him black, but
no.
That's not how it works.
No. What I'm saying is this. What I get what you was coming from, but I'm just reading him because I know he will say he won't fit in. I think he will fit in.
No, I'm not. No, what he asked was.
You just don't like his sense of
No,
humor.
I'm not. No. This is not saying Larry the Cable Guy ain't funny. That's not the conversation piece. Now, if it was a black person saying exactly the same jokes, would that fly? The answer is no. Here's the reason why. They don't even like. Oh, good. Are we go? This is what we're starting today.
Might as well.
This is what we're starting.
Work it up.
First of all, Cam, aka Nerd Boy Fresh.
Figgy.
Follow me on the gram and all. Here we go.
Run it back.
We're gonna do it like.
Run it back.
Cam, aka Nerd Boy Fresh.
Figgy.
Follow me on the gram and all that good stuff. Y'all know how we get down. Now, the problem is this. They don't. Why are we doing this?
I like how you did the hands. Wait,
This
you
is
gotta take
the
the glasses
problem.
off of that one.
No. I ain't even got to the good stuff yet. We gotta take the glasses off. We ain't even there yet.
Go for it.
No, the reason why the Larry the Cable Guy could not be a black person doing this because his whole thing is he country. And now I'm gonna tell you right now, they don't like black country people as is. Y'all ain't been to the Midwest.
Yeah, that's a half. You is right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of people they now.
Really biased and real.
I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real tall with you. The reason why Beyonce didn't get no love doing a country album because you trying to be something that they don't like you being.
And you've all seen Sundown Kid.
Exactly. And I'm gonna tell you right now, she ain't the only black person who do country music. Shout out to Shabuziers and a whole bunch of other people, Tanner Adele and a lot of other ones who get down, and they're great. Problem is, they would never get no shine because the one thing that Middle America wants is to keep country music theirs. That's why they love Carrie Underwood. They even love Taylor Swift because when she was doing country, they loved her to death.
Even Nickelback.
Even sorry Nickelback. And they ain't even country, they're quasi-country. they'll deal with a whole bunch of other people who semi-country, who
More
even do country and rap music.
like
You know,
quarterback?
that's why they even rock with like Kid Rock like that. Well, I'm rock and I'm rap and I'm all this stuff.
Is he dead?
No.
Oh, that's surprising.
But they don't
Different.
like black. So when you talk about Larry the Cable Guy, that's kind of the same conversation piece. If you had somebody, let's think about this. Who's the countryest black? Who's a black countryest comic that we got?
Wait.
Oh,
really said, he said it out.
No, I got Country Wayne. Let's say Country Wayne was doing Larry the Cable Guy jokes. Let's say Country Wayne did Larry the Cable Guy jokes.
You made your point. You made your point.
Don't stop the train.
I'm just saying, come on now.
I don't know if you see Country Wayne or know who Country Wayne is, but I see his point where he's going with this. Okay,
You can't let it ride, because if Country Wayne start doing that real country stuff and start doing that, if I was a black redneck, no, he would.
He might get.
I'm gonna tell you where he'll get away with it. He'll get away with that in the hood.
Yeah.
He may get away with that in Houston, where there's a lot of us out there. But every place else he makes that material. Oh no.
That was a Country Wayne, boy.
Yeah. Nah, that ain't flying. Anyway, good question. Nah, that is not flying. Nope. Shout out to Country Wayne. Shout out to Larry the Cable Guy. Don't get it messed up though, because Larry the Cable Guy with Jeff Foxworthy. When they ran their
Blue Collar Team. Wow, that was the best.
So
Wait a second, weren't they on Comedy Central for a minute?
they were all there. But when they ran when it was them four, that was. Please don't take this the wrong way, kids in the back. That was the white version of the Kings of Comedy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So when the Kings of Comedy was running around and doing their thing, they said, y'all got yours? We're gonna throw in our four too. And Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, forgot the other two off the top of my head.
Ron White,
and they got it.
Here's your sign.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you watch their show,
Tater salad.
they got all the way busy. They were funny as all get out. It was just a different brand of comedy.
So
I got arrested at a bar in New York City. That was the best one.
So real quick, so like they were both they were on Comedy Central, right? For a minute.
Yes.
All right, now here's the thing. Back in, I want to say, towards the pinnacle of their careers, do you think it would have been an interesting crossover with Larry the Cable Guy and Dave Chappelle?
No. Yes. Ooh. Let me tell you something. If you would have put, I'm gonna tell you who should have met. I'm gonna tell you.
Hold on. You know what, Vic?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm gonna tell you.
I can see that.
So think about this. Let's say for kicks and giggles. So you had Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, Ron White, and who was the other boy? Bill Evon. So you put Bill Evon with who? Cedric the Entertainer. No, take that back. You put Larry the Cable Guy and Cedric the Entertainer on the same show.
Because I can see Bill Evon and D.L. Hughley.
That's all. It was D.L. Hughley.
Yeah.
D.L. Hughley and Bill Evon.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Because
Then
they got the similar.
Then you have Jeff Foxworthy and Steve Harvey. Then you have Ron White and Bernie Mac. Do you understand how much of a show that would be?
I would cry.
I would
because Ron
White
White and Bernie Mac would be they're exactly the same type comic, just from two different stories.
That's like Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson mixed together, but with comedy.
I'm just saying, if you just blended those together and
they both would be drunk and have some.
No, if you put them and just did like a one super show and have them alternate alternate them, it would be a great show.
I got thrown out of a bar.
But Dave Chappelle would not be a bad mix for any one of them. But he would make more sense going with Cedric Entertainer because the way that their comedy style is very similar. They're very animated comedy style and stuff. Oh, yeah, that would go so well. Speaking of Cedric Entertainer, shout out to him. I'm gonna probably go step up to you in about a couple of months, see your show.
Don't disappoint.
They said, D, we're gonna go and see your show too. Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta put that together next week for sure. But yeah, but that's interesting.
But you know what's so funny? For some reason, I could see if he was still alive, I could see Bernie Mac and Ron White together. That would be so funny.
But that's what made both shows really good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Bernie will come out with all the aggression, but Ron has that way of saying a joke and making you think about it and then realize it was funny.
But that's the thing about Bernie.
Yeah,
Bernie was the same way.
Yeah, you would have called it Mac and White.
Oh, wow. Mac and White. That's dope. That would be a great show. Mac and White. Oh my God. that would be great. Shout out to Ron White as well, man. Like I said, they all got all the way Disney.
They don't even have to like each other. Just put them in a room.
Just let them go.
I can see all of them together. They'll be up in there playing poker, telling stories.
No, forget that. You sit them all on the stage and let them go joke for joke. Y'all get one, we get one. Y'all get one, we get one.
You're like, you
y'all
ever
tell
fart
us.
so hard your back crack?
And then let somebody like Bernie get in behind him. Yeah, I ain't scared.
I ain't scared. It's stirring like coffee. It's stirring like motherfucker.
Oh,
You might be a redneck.
Yeah, then you go with the you might be black. Yeah. Nah, bro.
So you know black people?
Oh man, that's
I can see Second Entertainer, Larry the Carrot Guy.
That's
just
what
riding
I'm
around.
saying. That's what I said. One in the truck, and then they do one in the Camino. Oh, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be great. Anyway.
If they ever saw this podcast and saw that would be money.
Oh, that's
Mac
great.
and White. I love that.
Mac and White. shout out to the great late great Bernie Mac, of course. Different subject. We're gonna shift gears. We're gonna try to get through a few different topics real quick. We're gonna shift gears. So last episode we were talking about paying $100 for Grand Theft Auto, and I know a lot of people watched that and they were like, intrigued about Grand Theft Auto being $100.
Broke.
Yeah, no. We ain't get to the broke conversation yet. So a week ago, we didn't get a chance to do it as it happened, but a week ago, Nintendo decided to talk about the Switch 2.
Oh, they're nasty.
Now, Switch 2, the console itself, not much different than the Switch 1. Okay, we got all that. But they said that Switch 2 is going to be base model $450 for the base model, and then $500 with Mario Kart. Now, you'd be like, okay, cool, Mario Kart for $5, I bet this is a throw-in, cool. Nah. That throw-in of a game is not even a true throw-in. It's like $30 off. They are valuing Mario Kart, just the game by itself. $80 for the digital version.
Not even physical.
No, digital. The download the stupid game, $80. $90 if you want to go into a store and buy the physical copy of the game. $90 for Mario Kart. Then Nintendo said, we won't stand on it. This ain't the only game we're going to run at $90. There's going to be a bunch of games running at $90. And if you don't like it, as they said 2 days ago, if you don't like it, go buy a Switch 1. Don't buy a Switch 2 if you can't afford this. Go get yourself a Switch 1 if you can't afford this money. That's how arrogant Nintendo is at the moment. It's crazy because when you think about the state of gaming, is there a world where even the Switch 2 is even close to, let's put it like this, do you think the Switch 2 will be better than an Xbox?
No.
How much is the Xbox Series S right now?
Oh, dude, you can get one for like $200.
You get it for like $200. I mean, if you get it in the store right now, it's $300.
$399.
Like $350.
$4.
Yeah, $350. But and the high scale of things is like $400. You know, you can get the old school X's for like $5. But you can't tell me that the Switch is better than an Xbox Series S.
Well, here's the thing. I can't say it, but I'd just be wrong.
Yeah, no, you can say it, but it'd be a lie. But then you mean to tell me that you got the Switch 2 valued?
Don't you gotta sleep?
Yeah, I know. Don't you got the Switch 2, not sponsored.
That didn't say monster.
It said not a sponsor. That's the ER that's on the end of it.
It said, shut up.
So you can't tell me that the Switch 2 is better than the PS5.
Oh, hell no.
But that's how much they got the Switch 2 valued at. They got the Switch 2 valued the same price as a PS5 right now.
I like how it has decade-old technology. Primary components, too.
No,
It's the same screen.
I like how they have I like the fact that they got the balls, the gonads,
Balls.
the gonads to say that
They got
I'm
the jewels.
gonna run these jewels at $500 and tell you that the games is $90 a pop. $90 a pop.
So here's the real
Physical.
question. So are they trying to market it just because they see that PS5 is coming out with the Grand Theft Auto and they price it
No,
the same price?
no.
They're doing it just because
basically
they want to.
even though they want to.
They're doing it, and keep in mind, I'm saying these prices before the tariff situation, which is gonna make these consoles even an extra $100. But that's a different conversation. You ain't got there yet. But you're telling me that Nintendo just said, "Look, I'm just gonna run these prices up just because I feel like it." Not because that is really valued as such. The Switches, when they first came out a few years ago, them things ran at $200 and $300 respectively. Now you mean to tell me that the same components with a little bit better screen is going to run me $200 more?
So do they gonna have like the whole packet in there? Like other little varieties besides the game and the system itself?
It's just the game
Oh,
You are
and
paying
the system.
for the game and the system. You ain't got no charging station. You ain't got nothing to hook it up to the TV. You ain't getting no pro controller.
No, I'll give you one better. You know how much the little docking controllers are going to cost you? $90. For an extra controller. For an extra set of controllers.
But you're saying people gonna pay for it.
No, that's the reason why they're doing it, because they said,
Well, yeah,
look,
I mean, people pay for sex.
no, they said you're going to pay this $500 and like it. What basically is what they're telling you. You're gonna like it, and they know you're gonna pay for it, because gamers are just gullible enough to pay for it. Here's the point that we were making before.
It's like an abuse of X.
It's not, and here's the thing. Y'all see y'all walk around, y'all see kids, teenagers, whatnot. When was the last time you seen somebody play a Nintendo Switch? Kid
Not
or
together.
otherwise.
I didn't think they still exist.
It's always adults.
It's grown people walking around with Nintendo Switches. It ain't no kids playing on Nintendo Switch.
You gotta think about it, Cam. Remember back in the days when they had regular Nintendo, so it's like reliving their childhood.
Back in
That's
the
my
day,
point.
It's a childhood.
It's these grown people who's trying to relive their youth. And the funny thing is, Nintendo know it, because you know what they've been pitching for y'all for the last 20, 30 plus years?
Mario.
The same games. Zelda, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, what else? Donkey Kong.
Tetris.
Not Tetris, you ain't saying Tetris, no. I'm trying to think about the Nintendo games.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pokemon. Those are the games that they're pitching.
Yeah, when was the last time they made something new, like genuinely new?
Out of Nintendo's own camp?
Yeah, like an entirely new IP. No Mario, no Donkey Kong, no Pokemon, no Metroid.
Let me think about this. That's a good question.
Wii games don't count.
No.
I mean like a real new property.
That's a good question. Let me think about this
Can't
for a second.
recall them doing anything like
Because
that. They just had the same thing.
that's what I'm saying. They recycled the same thing. I'm trying to think. The last new thing that they made was Smash, the original one, but that was like what, 15 some odd years ago.
Well, I want
It was one game that everybody was on though.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing is the one. That's the one. Animal Crossing, and that was done in the Wii era.
Yeah, I think it was like done 2010.
That was in the Wii era, and there's games that they haven't even started. They haven't even thought about that they should put out, like Star Fox. You know,
Oh, you want to talk about
Kid Icarus.
a neglected child, Star Fox? It's so sad.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if you're gonna rerun one of them, dang, at least give us a new school Star Fox, huh?
Please.
At least if you're gonna rerun that, I mean, you rerun.
Give it to someone who'll do something.
You actually gave like a decent Metroid. I'll give y'all that. But even with all that being said, you're still running the same games over and over again, and it's funny because people were just gonna buy the same games over and over again.
It's amazing, cause.
Well, here, can I ask you this question though? Do you think because of that, because certain creators don't really have anything valuable to bring to the table nowadays, right now, because there's so much stuff out there that, you know, the creative of thinking of building something of a new game is kind of hard, because if they presented something to the board, they get shut down right there and there.
Yes.
I can see that happen.
Absolutely.
Because you see, like, if I pitch something of a new era, new thing, they're gonna be like, okay, well, what's the value of it? How much it's gonna cost us? How much are we gonna make off of it? Is it worthy enough? Is it something that's gonna lead to not only the best game of the year, or we're gonna have like clothing product or movie theaters?
You just made an absolutely good point, and I like it. And here's the reason why. Because a lot of times,
You should do it.
no. This boy got knowledge.
It's a duet. No, but what I'm saying is because you have, I mean, like Victor did make a good point on something. Like, one has the last time you see something that they created so valuable, this is like everybody jumped on it just like that.
Oh no. Now see, here's the difference. Here's the biggest difference.
Like, it's something like it's gonna make you like camp out for it.
Now, when was the last time Nintendo made something like that?
In general, I'm just using that as an example.
Oh no, there's been a lot.
Okay. Let's
There's
start
been a lot. There's been a lot of a lot of things where your independent market has came from. It's been the ones who've been taking chances on games, and then what happens is the big publishers and the big creators want to jump on it. Undertale, Stardew Valley, Balatro, that should have won Game of the Year. What else?
What? Yeah, that's a good question. Why didn't they make gaming? Because I played that game. That was actually pretty good. It was a good game. The storyline, the storytelling.
I mean, it's
great.
It's all good. There's a lot of games that are like the people who take chances on it are independent people. Then once a company see it pop off, then they want to duplicate that game in their system.
Let me stick my fingers in it.
You know, there's been games like even games that got super popular, like Baldur's Gate 3. People said that was new. It wasn't new. It was actually a remake of Baldur's Gate 2 and 1. Even though that won Game of the Year. You don't really see a lot of new IPs, but the new IPs come from the independent market.
Well,
they don't come from Sony directly. Now they'll take you'll see them take flyers on a certain game here and there, and you'll see certain ones do well, and you see certain ones flame out. It's just what it is.
It is what it is.
But I think a lot of times companies get scared because if they say we're gonna throw 10, 20, 50 million towards a game, we need a return on investment, and it's hard to get a return on investment. The one game that actually turned around and made that was Astrobot. And even Astrobot didn't sell well. It just was commercially well, and it got them Game of the Year.
Well, the whole thing about Astrobot 2 was...
And it wasn't even a real game. It wasn't supposed to be a real game.
Well, the whole thing about Astrobot was it was a video game about all the video games that PlayStation has made.
Right. It was a tech demo. You're right.
But can it be easy for Nintendo just to come out with a new brand of a game for Nintendo itself? Because you gotta think about it. They still, like you said, it's always gonna be Mario Kart. It's always gonna be what else? Smash Brothers and stuff like that.
You see, if they were,
go ahead.
I was saying, like, if they were cool, they would make a new IP, right? Where it's similar to Pokemon, but instead of capturing animals, you just go around choke slamming them. You know, I would be hilarious. It's a video game where you're just this random person going around beating up mythical creatures.
Right. I mean, the one thing about Sony is that they'll typically take a You'll see a game. You'll see a game You'll see like Sony take a chance on a game like Returnal that turned out to be very well. made by the same people who done some other independent games.
But you know what's crazy though too, Karen?
What?
And then you see that on the Game Pass too. You be like, certain games will be so good. I'm like, man, why is this game on the pass? Why this didn't make any value?
Because if it wasn't on the pass, would you pay for it to buy it?
But no. That's not what I mean. What I mean is this: like, it's certain games on the pass. It's like, yeah, this game is fun. So why didn't this game make any value off of it?
Because people.
I mean, you get what I'm saying, right?
No, I get exactly what you're saying. But think about this. This is what Nintendo just did was inadvertently made Game Pass and Steam the two most valuable entities in gaming right now. Why do I say that? Because now Microsoft could just say, we can just keep rolling games on Game Pass.
You know how insane
we're getting it at a value $20 a month versus paying $90 for a game.
I'm sorry. But here's the thing. So people are scared that because with Nintendo doing this, it's going to encourage pretty much everyone else to increase the prices of the games. But, like, even increase the price of Game Pass. But I think it'd be baller as hell if they lowered the price of Game Pass, even if it's just $1, right? I think that would be a really good opportunity.
No, I think Microsoft should do exactly where they are. Stay put. Don't get cute and try to move it up. Don't try to up the value of Game Pass, because if you just keep Game Pass at $20, knowing that every single game that's popping out is a $90 game. So think about this. They just dropped out Borderlands, all that stuff.
I saw that.
Just think about that. If you just had that catalog.
MLB, what's this MLB?
Right. I'm just saying that. Just think about that. MLB next year is going to be a $90 game.
Yeah.
You roll that on Game Pass day one, guess what? That value of MLB is substantially better because it's like I don't have to pay $90 for this game. I can just play it on Game Pass at my leisure. When I'm done with it, I'm done with it. Because keep in mind, games like Madden, MLB is on a year-to-year cycle anyway. That game is only valuable for a year. So $90 for a game that you're going to play for a year? No, I'm good. So now Steam on the other hand, it's like, look, we didn't have to do nothing. We still got valuable games. We still got all this stuff.
Yeah,
we're still going to get PlayStation games. We're going to get Xbox games. But people don't know, and it's coming to fruition that Microsoft and Steam is going to merge together. And once they do merge together, you're going to have like a console that's going to have both of them running at the same time. Which ultimately, because PlayStation has games on Steam, that means that those games could be played on an Xbox console, which is a handheld. Oh yeah, that's money in the bank. Steam didn't have to do a daggone thing. All they had to do was sit there.
So I got a question for you, Cam, on this. So, what would you look for in a value if you was like one of the creative writers for a game? What's your point of view on something that you could say, okay, this game might have some value, this game might make it? Well, what would you like? What directly would you want to see on something on paper?
Oh, like for a new game?
Yeah. If you was one of the creative writers.
I think right now you got three schools of thought. So you got your Call of Duty players, you got your role playing players like your Baldur's Gates, those type players, and then you got like your Grand Theft Auto players. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you take those three entities and you figure out what's the best thing out of those three games. The one thing that's consistent within those three is the story. Give me a game with a good story and decent enough gameplay mechanics. I don't care if it's a role-playing game, a shooting game, or otherwise, it's going to do just fine. This is the reason why what makes a game like Cyberpunk, and I always reference that, very, very good now, is because when you put all the components together, a good storyline, good gameplay mechanics, something that is fun to play that is not necessarily repetitive, oh yeah, you'll go back to that game over and over again. But you need a game kind of like that. Oh, yeah. Or like Baldur's Gate 3. This is another one.
Here's the thing. It's like if you ever make something, specifically in this case a video game, you want it to be where the only reason the person playing it is bored is because they're not imaginative.
Right.
Right, I believe that. But you know what's so funny though? And it might be, it might sound silly, but I wanted them to make this game because when I played Texas Chainsaw, I was like, okay, if they make this game, they gotta make a Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street kind of game. I can see that happen.
Okay, but would you want to play as him or survive him?
You know what? That's a good question. I'll probably play Survive him.
Well,
Well, you're already on your way there.
but they have games like that. I mean, but they have.
But can you imagine?
No, but they have games like that. They have like Until Dawn and some of these other games that are basically survival horror type games. I mean, even Resident Evil at its core is like that. It's just you would want it to be, but Until Dawn is more of a better choice
Real
because.
quick. Fun tidbit about Resident Evil. Resident Evil 5 took place in Africa, and there was a whole scandal about being racist.
That is a fact.
It was hilarious. I don't remember when Resident Evil 5 came out.
Oh, that was 2000. What's that? 2004.
No, that's 4. 5 came out. I would say like
2006.
2010.
No, it wasn't that far of a gap. I don't think. Maybe 2007. We'll have to look it up. We'll look it up.
But either way, when I bring it up, because it was controversial, because you were playing as Chris Redfield, a white guy, in Africa, shooting black zombies.
Yeah.
And it was racist.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a reach, Capcom. It was a little bit of a. It was a reach.
That would have made
it was a reach.
I'm
gonna keep it. No, I'm gonna keep it tall with you, because people hated that game. They still hate it to the game, but everybody's hated to this day. When people say what's one of the worst Resident Evils made, people will start with 5.
It's either 5 or 6.
Because 4 was so great. Don't get it wrong. 4 at its time was great. Even a remake is still dope. But 4 even at its time was great. So they came off of 4 and come up with 5, and 5 was kind of trash. Yeah, it was a reach. But I did remember that story. Cause I knew that was part of the controversy, that the gameplay mechanics wasn't good, and you got this white dude in Africa trying to shoot black people.
It'd be hilarious if he was British. But enough of my derailing.
But different conversation. Let's slide off that. I just wanted to cover that. So let's talk. We're gonna talk a little bit of politics, only because everything's been changing as we've been speaking. You know,
every time we got less change.
Part of like the money conversation is that these tariffs has been like happening, and Trump has been dropping tariff after tariff after tariff, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's like, well, now I want to pause. I want to pause for station identification because. I ain't saying pause. I ain't saying pause and after. He's trying to like, we're gonna hold this for station identification because now it's getting too ridiculous. But he's putting tariffs up like, he hit China with tariffs like 130, 140% tariffs. He got it to the point where they gonna have boats stranded in the water because nobody's gonna pick up these boats.
Now, real quick, Cameron, for those who may not know, explain what a tariff is real quick.
So basically, tariff is when you're importing goods from another country into your own. There is a price that you pay for us to take the goods on our land. In short, in layman's terms for the kids in the back.
Yeah.
So when they come in, the boats dock. Most of the time there was no real. The tariff was maybe 1 or 2%. That's basically for us to take on your products that's coming from another country. Something that's been happening way back in the day, way before, in the Christopher Columbus days and the travel days. I just want people to understand this. This is nothing new here. It's just it was never really a big deal because the numbers wasn't really like a percent here, a percent there is not going to kill nobody. It's a little something, but they ain't going to tax nobody. But when you're talking about 90%, even if you talk about 20% tariffs, that's a pretty significant jump. That's millions of dollars every day because when you're a country that takes in a lot of products, that sells a lot of products, by the way, you got companies like Samsung. I'll use them as an example. No, I'll take it back. We'll use Nintendo. Nintendo stuff is made in China. They're made on that side of the world. For it to be just to hit the States, they're charging over 100% markup just so it could be available for us to buy. Just so it could get on the shore.
Through the door.
No, it don't. No, it ain't went through no doors yet. It's in the. That stuff is sitting on the water. So that means that the company that had to send their boats all the way through, or fly their planes all the way through, pay all the travel expenses just to get to the water, or just to get their planes in there and be like, nah, it can't even touch down unless you pay X amount of money. Now, tariffs it's by load. It's like literally by the ton. So whatever that product is, I don't care if it's a singular car. I don't care if it's a truckload of PlayStations. If it's a bunch of them there, they gotta pay that money, and that money is like millions and millions of dollars. And think about that. Every single company has to deal with this load. So that means that if we don't have products available, that means that, okay, well, we may not get the Switch 2 in June. Because if it's stranded in the water and Nintendo don't want to pay basically the surcharge to get it onto the shores, those consoles are not really available. We can't buy it. So y'all gonna be stuck playing Switch 1s and stuff anyway. That's the thing about tariffs. It's a big, big money grab, because the one thing that you could control is that when you're a place like the U.S. is, like a few other countries that are consumer-based, and unfortunately the U.S. is a consumer-based company. We do produce, but we more consume than we produce. And because of that, people want to get their products onto our shores because they know that 90% of the time we are just gullible enough to buy it. Now, we do have companies who do produce. Apple is out here. HP is out here. Tesla is out here, amongst other things out here. But here's
everything on Tesla.
but here's the thing. Tesla builds and makes their stuff for the most part here.
Yeah.
But some of the materials that they need in order to get everything done comes from overseas. Simple stuff. You know, semiconductors, processing chips to run the computers in the cars. Unfortunately, we don't make that stuff out here. That comes from Taiwan, China, Japan, you know, some other places. So, if you cannot get the chip to function your Tesla, guess what? You ain't making no Teslas because you need that chip in order for it to happen. So, if we need something, you know, they gotta pay the surcharge to get it to us. But here's in turn, if we want to put our Apple products in China, guess what they're doing? Yeah, you want your Apple products here? 90% surcharge to get that stuff in China.
You want your stuff? Well, here, I need
you want your stuff, y'all want our stuff. So basically what they're trying to do is make these companies, if you're an American-based company, make everything out here. If you're a Chinese-based company, make everything out here. You know who benefits from that? China. Why does China benefit from that? Because they are more about producing and creating, and they have the tech, they have the resources, they have all that stuff know-how. If they kept the Samsung product at home, it's not going to kill them. Yeah, would they be able to sell some out here? True, but they're not going to sell a bunch of them in China, because here's the thing in China. Not many people buy that much tech out there. Why do you think they got to get it out to the U.S.? Why do you think Samsung is so popular out here? Because they have to get it out here because we're the dumb ones who buy it. Because we don't like Apple, so we'll buy Samsung. And the reason why we don't like Apple because we just I don't want to be like everybody else and just have an Apple like everybody else has Apple. Now there's a lot of people who do buy Apple, but what people don't understand about Apple is 2/3 of their product is made in China. So the Apple products, the way that you know it now, it's not really as American made as y'all think it is. It's American created, but not American made. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is America has become far more consuming than producing.
Yep.
right? This has been happening for a long time. This is nothing spontaneous.
Nothing new.
This did not happen overnight. For the longest time, the American people have just been about indulgence. I mean, America is unique because even the poor can indulge, right? Like, for instance, we were just talking about video games. You know there's going to be a dude, right, eating off EBT, don't have no job, right, living with someone, ain't paying rent, he's going to buy GTA.
Hold your thought for a second. Hold your thought. Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. It's only one of those companies that's US based, and that's Microsoft. But guess the one that they hate the most?
Sony.
No, they hate Microsoft the most.
I'll never forget this. Some of
They
you may be
hate Microsoft the most.
Oh, well, that's easy. Microsoft controls everything.
No, they don't like them because they're like, well, y'all not the, Sony fanboys, Nintendo fanboys.
Well, that because Bill Gates is a bit of a freak, but that's a different conversation.
Different conversation, but American people don't buy American-made stuff. But keep going. I just want to drop that in there.
Well, yeah, that's just the whole thing. I remember back in early to mid 2000s, there was always the joke of if something was cheap, it had the label "Made in China."
Yep.
Right, that was the joke.
Yep.
But nowadays, practically everything, even in this room, is made in China.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? That is true. But guess what? We as consumers were like, well, I'd rather just pay for it on the cheap because I'm not making enough money, so I'll get the cheap version of this. And yeah.
You know, it's funny.
So that's how Temu came to existence. See how Temu came into existence? Chinese-based company.
Chinese-based company.
That gives you Chinese-based products
and sell dirt cheap.
You know what you can find on you can find on Temu?
$2.
You can get an Xbox on Temu. You get a PlayStation on Temu. It'd be like it'd be janky.
We say that with quotation.
That hoodie I got from Temu.
That's what I'm saying. But see, that's my point. Y'all got all that janky stuff. It comes from Temu, but that all comes from China. So all that, well, it's cheaper because America, but half the stuff y'all have on is cheap. Anyway, keep it going.
That was slick. That was smooth.
I just want to throw it in there just for the kids in the back, just so y'all understand that this ain't a.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, this whole tariff situation. I mean, this isn't the first time America's done tariffs. There's been about, I want to say, maybe 3 other presidents who did tariffs. And surprise, surprise, every single time it didn't go well. And I'm pretty sure every single one of them that did it was Republican. Well, real quick, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I vote for the lesser of evils, pretty much. But, I mean, looking at our current president, first and foremost, he's a businessman. I would be hard pressed to call Donald Trump a Republican. He's a Republican because that's what fits his needs. I guarantee you he'd be a Democrat if it fit his needs better.
Yep.
Because he's a businessman. He does business. He's very numbers oriented.
Yep.
Right. And that's why this whole tariff thing's going down. I don't think the tariffs is not the goal. He's trying to do something else. I think right now he's just trying to he's trying to piss everyone off so he can make the real deal he wants to make. And what better way to do that than with the tariffs? Because at the end of the day, this is all really about rare earth metals, right? Which the massive amount of them is found in Chinese mines. It's just going to be a very interesting year, let alone real interesting 4 years. Some people are thinking or speculating that the tariff thing is going to force us into a recession, and that will help us deal with inflation. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I was gonna say.
I have a different take, but keep going.
No, take it.
All right, bet. So,
I take it back.
now, take it, and then I give it and I take it away. Think about this. What if this was a way to balance out the money?
That's why he's probably doing it, yeah.
No, this is exactly why he's doing it.
Okay.
Because
If you saying it like that, Cam, I mean, if this is a way to balance the money, is that gonna help the American people?
it's not a that.
It's not about the American people.
I want you.
No, I'm comprehending what you're saying.
Class is in session.
Sit back for a second. Kids in the back, y'all might wanna take notes for a little bit.
Get your popcorn.
This is gonna go a little bit of a direction. So, the reason why I talk about balancing out the money, the one thing that a lot of these economies have is a big gap between the haves and the have-nots. So,
wait, what rapper said that? Yeah, that's what,
so the haves and the have-nots. So think about your haves. Us, China, Japan, Russia, England to a degree.
I would just say the EU.
Yeah, I'm just saying England to a degree, but the EU. But I'm just saying out of the block, England's probably the most viable out of all of them. And India, and like the UAE. So that's where all the money is.
he knows that.
What if the goal was to make sure all the countries is kind of balanced out where the value of their dollar is even? Why would that be important?
Because that
Peace.
would have certain trust with all countries collaborating together. If that ever happens.
That's part of it, because it gets everybody talking because this is what these tariffs
It'll get certain leaders to have to sit down to a degree to have an understanding of the balance of anything. If that ever happens.
No. You don't have to go to war with tanks and guns and planes and drones to get your point across. Sometimes, if you hit somebody in their pockets, it's better. Hood rules. Hood rules. If you could go, somebody be like, well, somebody did this to my kinfolk, I gotta go back out there and ride. But instead of riding, let's say, look, we're gonna stop this business over here, we're gonna stop this business over here, we're gonna stop this business over here, we're gonna level out their money.
Are you saying
that has happened?
Are you saying that our American president is acting like Debo?
Kind of, but what he's trying to do is get everybody on the same conversational playing field.
He's not acting like
He's getting all the Power Five, your head of India, your head of Russia, Putin, the head of China, the head of Japan, the head of North and South Korea, everybody on the same playing field to get to get a balance in money.
You know what he's doing? It's like playing human chess. He's trying to get all his pieces on the board together.
No, he's trying to get everybody to the point where it's like
nobody makes a move.
No. Nobody has more power than the other when it comes to economics.
Because like, what's the most powerful piece on the chessboard? So
you don't have to be the head dude in order to run it. You could be the next best piece in order to run, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
Unilateral money, but that also means, follow me, kids, because this is a good point. A unilateral dollar. What do I mean by that?
The value of a dollar.
No, if the value of a U.S. dollar is equivalent
to
the equivalent. So let's say the value of the U.S. dollar is equivalent to the value of a dollar in England, equivalent to the value of the dollar in Russia, equivalent to the value of a dollar in China and Japan.
I get what you're
saying. One unilateral dollar.
So you basically, if you said if I was in Japan right now, I can use my U.S. dollar over there. That's okay.
So if you make a unilateral dollar, now it's not like the U.S. dollar is not accepted versus the yuan, or it's not accepted versus the euro, or whatever that dollar is. If you make everything unilateral, guess what you have? Now you can have one universal dollar that controls everything. And here's the thing, you don't have to use a regular dollar, paper dollar, to make it happen. Now you can go any place across the world, no matter where you are, and say that my dollar in Mexico is the same dollar as my dollar in the U.S. It was my same dollar as the one in the Philippines, which is the same dollar as the one in China. There's no difference. One unilateral dollar. Why? Now, why do I say that?
No, I get what you're saying, Cam, and I'm more comprehend on everything you're saying, but here's the kicker: can that actually work?
That's what they're leading towards. So,
because if that works, like you said, that's gonna change a lot of transparent, and a lot of biasness, and a lot of just money, like you said, balancing the money. I mean, it should help, and not just American people. It should help everybody in the whole nation.
No, it's not about helping. It's about making everybody dependent. Because if you have basically, instead of having 6, 7, 12, 14, 16, 20 different governing bodies, the way to get one big governing body is to unify the dollar. Y'all want to keep walking? We're going to keep stepping a little bit. Why is it important to unify the dollar? Because unify the dollars, that means you unify the leadership.
Yeah, I get that.
If you unify the leadership, that means that everybody who is the superpowers is all have to be in the same room and having the same conversation, whether they love them or hate them.
But then, if that happened, that would help out the economy. That would balance the budget.
No, it doesn't. Because
it won't help out necessarily.
Because now you're talking about complete government control. What do I mean by that? So
basically, what you're saying, now we have access.
No, so that means that they have access to everything that you do, which they already kind of have. They're kind of having it set up now. So, biblical terms, this is where I was leading to. You know, when people talk about like the mark of the beast, and they think about it in old school terms, like, oh, well, you want to have the mark of the beast on your head and forehead, because they think about it in the old school way of that being presented. Think about it like this. What if the mark of the beast is connected to how your money is designed, and it being in the form of chips?
Well, okay, so in Revelations, how the mark of the beast is presented, it's a very literal mark.
Yes.
It's not something hidden. You can't get it accidentally.
No.
Right.
You have to get it on you on purpose.
It's a literal mark on you.
Yep.
It has to be visible.
Yep.
Because it's either on your hand or your forehead.
Yep.
And you have to get it of your own volition.
Yep.
That's the way things are going. This has all been discussed in the book of Revelation. Now, Revelation can come across kind of confusing, but basically, by the time of Revelation, which we're now closer to than ever, and we're only getting closer to it every day, that's how time works.
Yep.
Revelation describes a world that is starting to look more and more like how it's been described. And the primary one is the peace that is coming. People are talking about like there's going to be war.
Yep.
No, despite all the tension and despite the war in Ukraine and Israel and Palestine and all that, there is a peace coming that is going to last, if I remember correctly, 7 years.
Yep.
Before the most bloodiest conflict in humankind will happen.
Yep.
Be very, very wary, be very alert, And keep your eyes, right now, I would encourage anyone listening, keep your eye on the Middle East, specifically Israel, because there's going to be someone who makes peace with Israel before betraying them. When this peace is talked about, you really got to get your affairs in order.
Yep.
And that's if you're alive to see. You should do it right now, in all seriousness. But this is revelation we're talking about. Money is going to be what brings the peace. Because, I mean, let's face it, the big reason we're all killing each other, it isn't over skin color or ideology or religion. It's all about money. That's why people are killing each other. And once money becomes unified, whatever, we'll call it the universal credit.
Yep, universal dollar.
Right. That's going to alleviate a lot of tension between everyone. And there will be, yeah.
Sad but true.
No, I just want to
Well, no, what I'm saying is the Bible is not ancient history. It's literally a manual for your life.
Yep.
It literally tells you how to escape the fires of hell that are coming. People nowadays live typically in fear, loathing, and apathy, and it's only going to get worse. I don't want to comfort people saying things are going to get better. They're not. Things are not going to get better. I can say with absolute certainty that things are going to get a whole lot worse. And I do mean that genuinely and very seriously. You really need to stop and think and realize what's happening right now, because we really are living in the midst of the apocalypse is right around the corner. Now, I won't say we'll live to see it. I can't say that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that these are just stages setting up for these things.
It's happening. I mean, everybody knows once the domino falls, what happens when it hits the next one? That one falls too.
Yep.
Things have been set into motion.
Right.
And it can't be stopped. Why? Because the Bible's been written. It's already been written. This is all meant to happen.
Right.
And here's the thing. It's not happening because the Bible said it was going to happen. It's happening because it was always meant to happen.
Exactly.
The Bible just recorded it.
Yep.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, don't hear me, but hear Christ and what He has said every day and every breath He's given you. Your meeting with Him is happening, whether you like it or not. Now you're either with Him or against Him. There is no indecisiveness. Respecting Him, that doesn't get you into heaven. Loving Him on your own terms, that doesn't get you into heaven. Acknowledging Him doesn't get you into heaven. What gets you into heaven? Complete, utter trust in Him. Not faith. Now, granted, faith is believing in something that has not been seen. But I say trust because you're trusting what He says, and if it's a real trust, it's going to affect what you do. That's what matters. Because at the end of the day, it's what are you trusting in? Everyone's trusting in something. Right now, I'm trusting that we're not going to collapse from the floor. This was made by a competent builder.
Yep.
That's the trust we have. We're having trust that this was built by competent people.
We trust that God is going to protect us in everything.
And I can say this with certainty that the forgiveness God offers is not flippant, it is not cheap, and it is not easily, how do I say this? Well, basically, the forgiveness God offers is a permanent forgiveness. It's an everlasting forgiveness. It has to be. Because, I mean, let's face it. Everlasting forgiveness. Why? Because you're forgiven for everlasting sin. It's not partial, it's absolute. You know, God, when there's only one, that is the God of the Bible, He doesn't do things half-heartedly.
True.
Everything He's done and everything He will do, including judgment, will be done with 100% of Him. This world isn't really worth clinging to. It's worth enjoying within reason, but it's not worth clinging to, really. Because there's nothing here worth losing your soul. No amount of money, power, women, family even. None of it's worth it. I don't think people really understand how long eternity is. And when you really sit and think about an eternal hell, darkness forever, people can't grasp the horror of no hope. No hope. You are there forever. No escape. No second chance. Nothing. You only have this life to get affairs in order. And I suggest you get them in order today. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Hell, the next 5 minutes is not guaranteed.
That's true.
It's just, this life is very short. Even if you live a long life with 90 years, point is you are destined to die as we all are. We're human.
Hold on. Go ahead.
We're human. We're fragile, frail creatures. And one day we will take our last breath. Lately, a lot of celebrities have been dying.
True.
I don't know where they go, and I'm not going to say I know. I'd like to imagine that their sins are forgiven and they're currently worshiping God in heaven. Perhaps some of them are, perhaps none of them are. I don't know, and I can't say I know. Because at the end of the day, the only thing I can say that I know is that if you're alive, you have hope. Hope that you might be forgiven, that you may be forgiven, that you can be forgiven. But if you don't receive forgiveness in this life, you'll never receive it in the life to come.
True.
After all, you can't
take none of this stuff with you.
yeah, you can't do
You
that.
gotta understand, it's like, look, I know that in this life we always try to chase after, well, I want to
The
chase
Egyptians
after
were wrong.
I want to chase after all this money, all this stuff. None of it comes with you. None of it. All the money that you have, stays here. All the cars, all the houses, all that stuff, it all stays here when you're gone. All you're doing is leaving it to somebody else so it can still stay here.
Worst of all, you might be leaving it to the government.
Right. Doesn't matter. You're leaving it here, and it doesn't matter. So don't get all caught up in, well, I gotta make so much money. You know, if you want to make money that is sustainable. And I think that's kind of the tie-in to a lot of this is that, you know, we're not saying that money's not important. We never have said that. We always said you need money to make sure you're sustainable.
Well, it's part of life.
But having like hand over fist money is not always the ticket. As long as you have enough money that is sustainable to you, you will be fine. The Lord will only reward you with more when you're good with what you have currently. The reason why people don't get more of anything is because they're not good with what they have currently.
Well, speaking of the Lord, so there's an apostate that, for whatever reason, locked his congregation members in his church.
Oh yeah,
And
over some money.
$40,000.
Yeah.
$40,000. We're gonna close on this.
Close the doors. Close the doors. I said close. Oh man, that was so hilarious. Go ahead, keep going.
But it's one of those things where it's sad that these kind of men have such a great big following. Well, okay, one of the reasons why they have such a big following is because they don't really convict people of sin. Any Bible-believing church does that because they have to. Because more often than not, you forget how sinful you really are on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So you have to be reminded constantly, you are full of sin. you need Christ on the regular. You need Him daily. You need Him more than your next breath. Do not forget that. And no, He's the kind of church where we're gonna sing, and we're gonna throw the word Jesus out there, and you're gonna feel good about yourself, and then you get to go home and nothing's changed. This guy pretty much demanded money from his congregation, and they use this one a lot where it's sow a seed and reap a profit. The Bible wasn't talking about the stock market. It wasn't talking about stocks. That's not what it was talking about at all.
So allow me to jump in real quick. Let me give a little bit of context for the people who don't understand the story.
Please do.
About a week and a half ago, Marvin Sapp was at a convention. He wasn't at his own church, but he was at a convention where he did ministry there, did all that stuff, and then towards the end of it, he had asked the people in the congregation who was there at this it wasn't a church, it was at like a convention center, where he told them to close the doors, and he specifically requested that 1,000 people online give $20 and 1,000 people in the congregation who was there live give $20. He got to the point where he had the ushers close the doors, and then had the other ushers sit in the front, put the offering baskets at the front, because he said he wanted to see them drop the money into the bucket. Now, this is where I'm gonna have to give y'all a little bit of context and give y'all personal experience. So allow me to give you context and personal experience all in one conversation piece. Roll with me for a few minutes, please. One, so in church, typically when you're dealing with a significant amount of money, the reason why the church tends to want to have the doors not locked in, but at least closed, is because when you're handling that type money, it's a safety thing in order to transport that money. If it's being transported in cash, it's a very old school thing to do. I used, going to Maranatha Church and other big churches, that tends to be the case. Now, they don't always do the whole close the door thing. Most churches don't do that because they have enough security around there. But if you didn't have enough security, one of the ways to kind of secure the money, to get it from the congregation up to the offices to count it and whatnot, was to keep the doors closed so a lot of people ain't moving around. So when the ushers are carrying that money, nobody's hitting them and jumping on them, all that stuff. I understand that concept. That's not what I want to address. The reason why I have to speak on this a little bit, because I don't think y'all boys have enough context on this one where I kind of do. Me, as a Christian performing artist, as a solo artist, and shout out to my squad, Cross Culture. We've done ministry just like Marvin Sapp has done for years on end. One of the things that we made it a point not to do is ask for money under any circumstance. Why? It's because if I'm there, if my squad is there, and we're doing ministry, whether it's at a church, a Boys and Girls Challengers Club, in the prison, or any venue that you could think of, it wasn't an ask for money. We didn't ask the church for money. We didn't even ask the people who was putting on the event for money. We didn't do it for money. We did it for ministry. And when I get a chance to bring the squad Cross Culture down and have the podcast, I will let them elaborate. But that was never the case of doing it for money. We turned away money. People will want to give us checks and stuff. Yo, we was going to give y'all a check. We ought to come out and keep the money. No, take the money. You know what we did with that money half the time? They would do an offering. We put that money right back in the offering. Because we didn't take it. There's only a handful of times where we were forced to take it because we had to. We didn't have no other choice. But a lot of times we didn't even take the money. We gave it back to them. So when Marvin Sapp did that, I took exception to how he went about it, is because he knew what he was doing was wrong. Now, he went on a podcast a day later and said he needed to raise the money for the event because they didn't have enough money for the event. So if they didn't have enough money for the event, but you're somebody who have your own church and you're a performing artist who makes money as an artist who got records and stuff sold, who are they raising the money for? Is it for the building? Because the building's already paid for. You wouldn't be able to be in that building if it wasn't already paid for, right? The people wouldn't be there if that place wasn't already secured down. So what are you raising the money for? That money was already done. You're basically raising the money for him. That's the problem I have. And then you're going to go on the pulpit and say, I want everybody on stage to give $100 and everybody in the congregation to give $20 a piece. And y'all ain't leaving until that happens. Basically, in short, is what he said. I take exception to that because that goes against ministry. As somebody who's done it for years, it goes against what we do. It's basically a big slap in the face for us artists who go to different churches and minister just for the sake of money. But here's the problem with a lot of these artists now. Your Marvin Sapp, your Kirk Franklins, a lot of them who are signed up to these record labels and stuff. They always request some sort of financial compensation to be there. Now, they're not going to tell you this. This is something that they will talk to them and the pastor, or them and the youth pastor. Whatever that conversation piece may be, there is some sort of financial obligation in order to have them there. It's not like they're just pulling up to say, well, we're just going to pull up a minister and whatever y'all want to give us, y'all give us. No. They have a number that they told them, I need $5,000 to be there, or I need $10,000 to be there. There's a number in play. He ain't going to tell you. Because like a lot of artists, they don't tell you. But I know it's there. But I've also been on the other side of the equation too. So being at my church at Maranatha, I had the honor of taking stage with a lot of people. One of those people who was there was Philip Bailey. People who are not familiar with Philip Bailey, the head singer of Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was on our praise and worship team. Yes, he was on our praise and worship team playing percussion. Sometimes he would sing. His kids, I knew Phillips Jr. and his kids. He didn't ask for no money to be there. He was just there, chilling, teaching us young people how to play instruments and stuff better. He gave us the opportunity to get our choir to record in one of his studios. He didn't ask. This is Philip Bailey. He ain't even promoted as a gospel. He's a regular artist who got millions of dollars. He didn't ask for a dime. He didn't ask Pastor Billy for a dime. He was just like, because I'm cool with you, Pastor, I will hang out with you. This is the problem I have with that situation, is because it's a slap in the face to the artists and the people who really do Christian music for God versus for money. But this is what happens when you start getting into record contracts and deals and all this stuff. You take away the God aspect, and now it's about money. And that's why he did what he did. And I don't care which way he wants to slice this, ultimately some of that money was coming back to him. He could say, well, none of that money went back to me. That's only because some people called him out on it. But ultimately, if the building was already paid for because you're already sitting there, and everything was accounted for because the convention was in full force, why are y'all asking for $40,000? You're basically asking for him and his entourage, and the pastor or whoever it may be. And that's why I know when you're right saying they're not doing it with the right intent in mind, but a lot of churches don't do it with the right intent in mind. You know, if you ask, like, yo, we're going to take an offering for this, cool. Nobody says no problem in you taking an offering for anything. But basically saying close the doors and I want $20 from each person, that's where it became a different conversation. Because now I'm just talking about closing the doors on this situation. Well, I didn't lock them. Doesn't matter if you didn't lock them. You had your ushers close the door and make it look like it's a hostage situation.
Yeah, one, and the whole trip of that story is there was one person in that church who was said it.
Let me tell you where this doesn't happen. It didn't happen at Maranatha. I'll vouch for that. Yeah, they close the doors when praise and worship and all that stuff is happening, and when there's prayer time, they close the doors because they don't want nobody walking during prayer time. But anybody who knows anything about prayer, you shouldn't be walking around during prayer time anyway. But that's a different conversation. So they close the doors in that regard. But it wasn't to the point where it was like locking the doors, like closing the doors down during offering and all that stuff. No. Didn't happen at Crenshaw Christian Center. It doesn't happen at West Angeles. It didn't happen at Faithful Central. It didn't happen at First AME. And it didn't happen at Maranatha. Those are your 5 major churches in California. Now, and I'll also tell you another thing. This is something that happens in the black church a lot because you see it in a lot of smaller black churches. I'm gonna keep it strong with you because I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of the non-black churches, this is not even a conversation piece. They don't close the door. They don't care. They take an offering. I went to Cottonwood for years. Predominantly white pastor, everything mixed congregation. Guess what? This is not even a conversation piece. If you give, you give. If you don't, you don't. They're going to be good irregardless. But you want to know why that they give well? It's not because it's like a difference in money. It's because they're not pressing people over it. If you don't press people over money, you know how much more they would give if you're not like forcing them to like, well, I need $20 no matter what. If somebody ran up to you, I need 20 or you ain't getting out this door. Yeah, you're going to fight. You will get fight before that $20. Now if you say, yo, I'm doing a little something. Yo, can you help me out? You know what you will do? Cool, Cam, here's $20. See how easy that conversation is? Marvin Sapp made that conversation a lot harder.
He made it hard when he told them to close the door.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And then it's like, now you holding people against their will because now you just say, oh, you can't leave it till you throw something
because the problem is it's
so basically he did it to himself.
No, it's too much about money. But
money makes
the biggest line to the story is that this is why you cannot be so attached to one person, one man, whether it's a singer, pastor, whoever it may be. Because again, no matter what, including myself, all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. That doesn't mean that we're perfect. This is why you can't say that I don't want you to idolize me as a person. I'm not perfect.
Neither am
I would rather you learn from me than idolize me. I don't even let my kids idolize me. I let my kids learn from me. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like, well, my dad is my idol. No. Your dad is your dad.
Don't be like me.
No. No, I don't want you to be like me. I expect better. Does that make sense? As good as I may have done, I expect better. Don't idolize me. Use me to help you get to a higher plane than I've ever been. And shout out to my two, by the way. My son's birthday coming up in a week or so. Shout out to him, of course. He'll be in town. I'll let him tell him when he gets in town. But the answer to the question is, I want them to be better. And guess what? They're doing great. Because I don't want them to idolize me or their mom or their grandmother or their grandpa. No, don't idolize that. Look to see what each of us has done, and you strive to be better than that. And let the Lord walk your steps. That's really where the story transpired. And this is why, like I said, for me, this is what made me mad about it, because I thought I know what it's like to be in his shoes. And I know exactly what I've done every single time in those shoes. And I'm going to tell you right now, even though being on stage, I understand you're not going to make perfect decisions on stage, even in ministry. I understand that.
Desperate times.
No, it's not even desperate. You make mistakes.
Yeah.
Even on stage in ministry, you make mistakes. I've done it many a time. It happens. But this is why I said, don't idolize me as a person. Learn from me.
Well, yeah, to idolize man is to idolize death.
But that's what a lot of these people do. They look up to Marvin Sapp like he's the buy-all and end-all. They look up to other pastors, Joel Osteen, like he's the buy-all and end-all. They look up to other people like he's the buy. No.
Yeah, emphasis on buy.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's bigger than that. Look to God. God above everything. We say it all the time.
Listen,
Not on accident.
Put it this way. All right. To really know. Let me put it this way. Any problem you have in life, I literally mean it, any problem, is addressed in the Bible. Every single one. Literally every problem. There's not a single situation that the Bible cannot help you in. The only reason someone would say, well, that's not true.
Hey, good morning. Well, we're on able to very special information from Morris and all the information, the date, location, they're in there, completely free. You have to take part of it.
What is
Careful.
Keep on.
What is it?
The Jehovah's Witness. jdub.org. Go ahead, keep on.
Actually, Jehovah's Witness?
Yes. They're lucky I don't feel like debating right now. That would be a different conversation. I don't feel like debating today.
Keep it going.
Because I would take a whole other hour, and I'm kind of tired right now. But I would make time for them at a later point. Hold on. Don't knock the camera around. All right.
But in all seriousness, back to what I was saying, the Bible is literally the only thing you need to tackle pretty much any situation in life. The only reason that you may not find what you're looking for is either A, you need some help understanding the material, B, you don't really want an answer, or C, you're just not looking.
No, because most people, what they want is that they want validation for what they did, not the right answer. They don't want the right answer. They just want validation for the answer.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you don't want an answer, you want an exit.
Yep. You want validation. You want to be like, well, this I think is right, and I want the Bible to validate my right, or what I think is right.
I mean, to put it this way, you read the Bible and you read it genuinely, you're not going to walk away feeling good about yourself.
True.
You shouldn't feel good about yourself. There's nothing to feel good about.
True.
But you will feel good about the God who, of his own volition, of his own will, has done so much to save your soul from a justified eternal hellfire. You don't walk away from the Bible feeling good about yourself. You walk away feeling good about the God who wrote it.
Indeed. Anyway, get your final thoughts in.
Polly's final thoughts. What's in the do-rag?
Wow.
This ball is.
So here are baldness.
Yeah, so I'm getting old. Anyways, well, good point of view on both sides of equation in this discussion. I think for the most part, I think we have to learn about our ins and outs right now, because we live in a world we can see it ending at the blink of an eye. I mean, hell, we witnessed it through the pandemic. We witness it now through fires and everything else. Anything can transparent. And like Cam said, we're not perfect. Hell, I'm not perfect. Hell, I know I got a bunch of stuff I've done in my life which I'm not proud of. That's a whole, and I say it all the time, and that's a whole different other conversation. But at the meantime, I always said God's still working on, not me, but God's still working on everybody. He has a plan for everybody. Some will believe it, some don't. I mean, I can't sit here and say that, 10 years from now, will I be in from 10 years for sooner than later? Because we don't know. Would I would have known 10 years ago, would I be sitting at this table doing this? No. I never would have known. But at the same time, I still count my blessings on not only trying to be a better man, but trying to be a better human being. And meaning of the word of it's something greater out there for everybody. We just got to keep believing and keep the faith. So I will say this, just if you have something going on in your life or you're trying to make yourself better, it doesn't hurt to always ask the question to the right person, because you never know, it might help you get to that door you always been wanting to go through. And for me, that's what I've been learning a lot lately. So my final thought is just keep pushing forward, keep improving your intelligence, and keep asking the right questions to the right people, because you never know what it might help you in a situation. What if it's good or bad?
Get your words in.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, like you, like me, like all of us, I want you to remember what we talked about. From Nintendo being off their rocker, to the tariffs, to religion. Ultimately, we want you to walk away thinking. Now, you can either think that, well, that was a waste of time, or you can think, well, that was something. Either way, we want you to think. Don't let this go in one ear and out the other. Walk away with this with an opinion at least, even if it's a bad one. Always make sure to like the video, because remember, you don't have to like us
the video
to like us.
the video. Indeed.
Freaky.
Yeah, too early. Too early. Too early. Inadvertently, this was a conversation about money.
Always is.
We talked about Nintendo's money. We talked about our money. We talked about the country's money. We talked about the church money. It was an inadvertent conversation about money. It wasn't really the sole direction of it, but ultimately, I think that what people have to understand is like we said at the top. Money comes, money goes. You make money, you spend money, you make more money. But what I will tell you is you will never get rewarded with more until you do good with what you have. I think that's the one big stress point, Yeah, does that mean that you could go out and buy a Switch 2 when it comes out? Yeah, you could. But is that the right move that you should be doing at that time? I'm just saying, is that the right move to be putting? Is that the right move? I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of people who's gonna buy it, literally just to show off. They're not buying it because they like Nintendo. They're not even gonna buy it because they want to play it. They want to buy it because they can. But there'll be the same ones who don't have enough money to get through week 2, week 3, week 4 of their check. And they're trying to get loans just because you wanted to buy a Switch for $500. I know people there, well, $500 ain't a lot of money. Talk to enough people and ask them to see if $500 ain't enough money. There's a lot of people who will be happy with $20 right now. Y'all, what $20 will make somebody's day.
No, here's a good one. Here's a good one. You know how many people would be dying to have no money but also have no debt?
Right. If you had no debt and you were like, well, I'm breaking even, I had no debt. Cool.
I would be happy with that.
You know how many Americans would lose their minds just to break even right now?
Yes, because most people don't break even. You're living in debt. You're not even living check to check anymore. You're living check to debt. Because you're overspending on stuff that you really shouldn't be.
Did you really need 3 credit cards?
Right. But then on the flip of the coin, you can't have people having their hands out. You can't have people having their hands out begging,
I'm in that. I'm what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you can't have people.
Don't touch me right there, cause
Yeah, you
I've
can't
been-
have
I've been
people
in that shit.
begging, like, yo, I need money, and money for a church when they have money. You can't have that either.
All right.
Now we wrapping it up. Don't worry. We just can't have none of that stuff. But ultimately, what I say is, just be good with what you have. You'll be fine. You know, stop worrying about somebody else's pockets. Be good with your own pockets.
Make sure there's no hole in it.
Yeah. Be good with your own pockets. The Lord will bless you with more. Anyway, besides that, you know, let me get all the pleasantries out the way. I did not say like and subscribe to the page, so y'all should have done that about an hour ago. Should have hit the thumbs up and the like and all that stuff. But if you got all the way to this portion of the conversation and you still haven't liked the page, we got a problem. Just kidding. Just make sure y'all like the page. Shout out to all 121 subscribers, of course. Shout out to all the people who's been like commenting and all that stuff. We're gonna address the comments on the next one. I didn't forget about the comment that somebody left.
Yeah,
We're gonna get there. I didn't want to take an extra 5 minutes on that, but we're gonna address that. We'll catch that on the spin around on the next episode, of course. As always, shout out to our affiliates, of course. Shout out to Jason Lane, World Heat Entertainment, of course. Shout out to Dirty Joe and all them. Shout out to everybody who's been working on the movie project, of course. Z, I know you're going to be coming down pretty soon. We're going to get you on the deck. Besides that, family, it's always a privilege and an honor to do this. So for my man Paul, for my man Vic, my name is Cam, a.k.a. Mr. Nerd Boy Fresh. Like always, it is God above everything. Till the next time, family, we will do this again soon.
Much love and respect.
Salute.